We're going to turn our attention to overseas, where yesterday the European Union declared that Hezbollah is indeed a terrorist organization, being greeted with agreement from White House Press Secretary Jay Carney.
Hezbollah's dangerous and destabilizing activities, from attacking tourists in foreign countries to leader Hassan Nasrallah's active support of Bashar al-Assad's violent campaign against the Syrian people, threaten the safety and security of nations and citizens around the world. The EU's decision today sends a clear message that Europe stands firmly against Hezbollah's terrorist activities. The United States is proud to stand with the European Union on this front.
That is White House Press Secretary Jay Carney. Bilal Saab is Executive Director and Head of Research and Public Affairs at Enigma North America Incorporated, responsible for directing the strategic operations and growth activities of the Washington, D.C. based branch. And he is joining us now here on Post. Thank you for being here today.
Good morning and good to be with you.
Specifically, my understanding is that the EU classified the military branch of Hezbollah as terrorist, but not the entirety of Hezbollah. Is that true?
That's correct.
Can you explain how that can be?
Well, the British have done it with the Irish before. They've also done it with Hezbollah before. They make a clear distinction between the military wing and the political wing of the organization, even though the organization itself is telling the entire world that there's no difference between our arms and our politics. I'm not sure why there's an attempt at nuance with this organization. I think it's laughable.
Yeah, because the Hezbollah, if the word nuance is not in the same sentence typically with Hezbollah.
Not really. But as far as the decision itself of the EU, I mean, the birth of the new royal baby in England has more impact on European politics than the EU's blacklisting of the military arm of the organization. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but it is really as irrelevant as it is inconsequential.
Does it have no significance at all, even symbolically?
For those who are working in European governments, I'm sure they will highlight the success of the decision and the impact it will have on the fundraising activities of Hezbollah. Perhaps it's room to maneuver in European capitals, perhaps to recruit, but I really believe that it has very, very limited impact.
How big is Hezbollah now? I mean, has it grown? Is it an adjunct force? Is it allied with Al Qaeda? What is its status right now?
Well, it has a pretty regional influence. It has local predominance in Lebanon. It is perhaps the most powerful sub-state military actor in the world. It allegedly has a global presence. I certainly don't have access to intelligence to say what kind of a presence it has in Europe, but I'm sure it has some sort of cellular activity in the European capitals. Even though they have never waged any terrorist attacks in the European continent, or I should say in the American continent, they have been accused of perpetrating terrorist attacks in Bulgaria and in Cyprus. Do they have an alliance with Al Qaeda? I don't think they do. You can say that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, so they may have cooperated in the past to attack U.S. and Israeli targets. But as far as a strategic alliance, I'm not sure that they have one with the Al Qaeda organization.
Is the sole goal of Hezbollah to eliminate Israel?
The sole goal, not exactly. I mean, they have their own local goals in Lebanon, which is to speak for the Shia community and to make sure that they have a political voice in the system and that they have economic rights. But certainly a strategic imperative of the organization is to wage what they call the resistance or the military struggle against Israel. Would they like to see Israel defeated and eliminated? Of course they do. But is that more of a dream than a reality? They know that it's a dream more than anything else.
How would you characterize the level of sophistication within the organization at this point?
Pretty sophisticated. That's an excellent question. The United States knows very well that this is one organization that should not be messed with. They have quite a coherent organizational structure, and this is all obviously aided by the Iranian intelligence services. They've had a partnership with the Iranians for a very long time, and they've turned them into a formidable beast. They started very modest, but now they've turned into, like I said before, one of the most potent political military organizations in the world.
You mentioned, again, we're speaking with Bilal Saab, Executive Director, Head of Research for the Institute for Near East and Gulf Military Analysis. And you mentioned Iran, and I was thinking about this recent story about Iraq now, where they've actually entered into an agreement with Iran for natural gas purchases. And Iraq and Iran seem to be turning to one another more and more. And I wonder if Hezbollah has designs on that country also.
Hezbollah has had a presence in Iraq ever since the U.S. occupation of the country. Certainly the sectarian dynamic works in their favor. They have relations with the Shia factions inside Iraq. They also have an interest in maintaining close relations with the government should there be a collapse of the Syrian government. Of course, as you know, Hezbollah has an alliance with the Syrian government, and of course now the Syrian government is in an existential struggle against the rebels there. So if the government there collapses, Hezbollah is going to have to find some sort of an alternative to find connections with, and Iraq could be a nice alternative given the sectarian relations that they have with them.
It does seem lately, though, that the future of Bashar al-Assad is more cloudy. It does not the same level of certainty of his departure from the scene is that has diminished somewhat. Although it may be a matter of time, it's not going as quickly as some people had foreseen.
That's an excellent point. We've all been wrong in assuming that it is only a matter of time before the regime of Bashar al-Assad would collapse. Their staying power has been misdiagnosed, I guess. We did not know that the Russians and the Iranians and even Hezbollah would come so forcefully to the rescue of their ally in Damascus. But at the end of the day, the Syrian conflict is anything but stable. There are a lot of ebbs and flows, and now there is a new attempt to arm the rebels by regional countries and perhaps also by the United States. Things could change rapidly. Assad is definitely feeling the heat, but I guess we're all wrong in assuming that his departure was imminent.
The other side of this, too, with the European Union declaring Hezbollah to be a terrorist organization, is that it's another instance where it seems to me that Russia is at odds with not just the United States but other parts of the world. But I'm not sure that seems to matter to them very much.
I'm not really an expert on Russian foreign affairs, but I agree with you that the Russian sentiment was certainly not a factor in the EU's decision. But like I said, this is a decision that really has not much of an impact on actual things on the ground as far as Hezbollah or even regional politics. What it really does at the end of the day, it embarrasses Hezbollah more than anything. It is a symbolic decision. But if I were Hezbollah, I would be far more concerned about the Gulf Cooperation Council's decision to blacklist the organization as a whole. I mean, they were the ones who, a few weeks ago, decided to blacklist Hezbollah, and that will have far more measurable implications for the organization than the EU's decision.
What does that mean? What will happen?
I think what will happen is that it would place restrictions on a lot of Shia people in the Gulf who are just trying to make a living, who have nothing to do with Hezbollah. They might be denied entry into the GCC and denied visas. They would probably be deported. And there have been a lot of actually instances of that happening. This is one of the implications of that as far as Hezbollah is concerned. Hezbollah speaks for the Shia community in Lebanon, but unfortunately it has hijacked the voice of the entire community. Therefore, any negative measures against Hezbollah would also affect the entire Lebanese Shia community. It's tragic, but it is the reality.
Well, we appreciate your offering perspective this morning, Bilal Saab. Thank you for being on POTUS today.
Good to be with you. Thanks a lot.
Bilal Saab, Executive Director, Head of Research and Public Affairs at the Institute for Near East and Gulf Military Analysis, joining us here to discuss the European Union's decision to classify Hezbollah, the military arm of Hezbollah, as a terrorist organization.